Hey everybody, it's Jill. It's time for another sit and knit. And I have something to say. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jill and I live in West Texas, middle of nowhere. And I live with my husband. Inside, I have my border pit. His name is Cerberus. You will hear him in my videos. He is the she shed mascot. We're sitting here in my she shed, and I'm doing this at a little different angle because I wanted you guys to be able to see me knitting. Sometimes you can't exactly see what I'm doing, so that's why I set it up this way. This is my yarn wall behind me. I have recently done a tour of the she shed, so if you'd like to see it, I have a playlist here. It should be at the top of the playlist, and then you can go back and sort out the playlist and watch things from the beginning. It's kind of an interesting journey. So that was a little bit of introduction for you guys because I know I have some new followers and I wanted to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm working on my husband's blanket. We call him Mr. Fiber around here. And I have been working on this for years. This blanket is one that I started to get rid of what we sometimes called shit yarn, crap yarn, yarn that you're just like, I'm never going to use this for anything. So it was a way to kind of start using that because knitting with it tends to be, it tends to make a better fabric than crocheting with it does. It's a drapier, looser. When you wash it, it softens up and it has like some movement to it that crochet fabric does not have. And that's why I like to knit with that kind of stuff. Some of this is old yarn that's called was like Sayelle, Sayelle, some older Red Heart, there's a whole lot of different stuff in here. And then in between all of that, the premise of this blanket from the beginning, not only to get rid of some of that yarn, but also Mr. Fiber wanted me to take bits and pieces of projects that I finished. And if I had bits of yarn left over, scraps, he said just put it in the blanket. And then it would be like a storybook blanket of all of the things that I have done in the time that I made the blanket. So there is an awful lot of different things in this blanket, and I'm almost done with it. Now, I was trying to remember when I very first started this blanket, and I really think it's been around 4 years. And I cannot believe it's been that long and that I'm finally going to finish it. I had already started my channel. That much I do know. This is going to be the size, pretty well the size of a queen size bed. And I will get final measurements on it when I get completely finished and I can lay it out. I'll lay it out on our bed and I'll be able to show you guys. So anyway, yeah. So it's got a lot of memories in it. It's got some things that I made for, like this was yarn I used to make a bear for my grandson Oliver. I have yarn in here that I used to make a blanket for Oliver. I have yarn in here from the blanket that was put on our bed, which I had made that blanket before I started this one. And then I added rows to our blanket on the side so that it would, because we have a king size bed and it didn't quite go down over the edges of it. So I put more rows onto the sides. I just went up and down the sides and put, 6 inches or so on either side of it. And then just this last couple weeks, I put more rows on it lengthwise. So I just went across the bottom and added rows to it. So I have that yarn in here twice. I had seen it. Here's where I did it just recently. Right here. And then if I go back down a ways, there's some of it down here where I did that. I had a little piece of it left when I put those rows on. So that's fun. That's fun. It's just a story. There's lots of things. There's cowls that I have made. There's hats that I have made. There's so many different projects in here. So it's a lot of fun. And I've brought this out in the last few months for my Scrap in Crime blanket make-along that I've been doing on the channel. I do, for those of you that are not familiar with it, and there is a playlist for that as well, I do on Friday nights a Stitch in Crime podcast where we talk about true crime cases. And so that is partly why my channel is called Fiber Floozie Crime. So I am the Fiber Floozie. When I very first set up my channel, I called it the Fiber Floozie. And then it became something where I felt like using the before my name made it difficult in the algorithm to find the channel. So then I was also doing more crafts other than crochet and knitting. So it became Fiber Floozie Crafts. I launched my website and made that Fiber Floozie Crafts. My business cards all say Fiber Floozie Crafts. So really, Fiber Floozie Crafts is my brand. Fiber Floozie Crime is my channel. It's really how it goes. If you go to my website, you get there by putting Fiber Floozie Crafts. That's the address. It will say Fiber Floozie Crime when you get there because I have turned it into a blog. I no longer sell things from my website because things were not selling. I was unable to sell things on Etsy. I didn't sell, not enough. Let's put it this way. I'm not saying I didn't sell anything. I sold yarn. I had some hand dyers that made yarn for me, and I sold that on my website. I am not saying that nobody ever bought anything from me. I'm in no way saying that. However, it takes a lot to, if you are unfamiliar with websites, when you sell things, it becomes a store. And when you make something a store, you have to put the ability for people to pay you. Those things usually are not free. Most websites do not allow for entry level cost to you. So, like your first tier on a website for being free, you only get so much space and so on and so forth. Then you go to something where you can actually post things, you can connect some of your social media stuff, and that's another tier. And then if you want it to be a store, usually that's another tier. And on that one, you would have to put in a cart. So I use WordPress, and with them, in order to have the cart, I have to have a certain level tier and pay for a certain amount. So selling on a website, it just doesn't always pay for itself. If you're not selling enough, then the website doesn't pay for itself that month to have a cart and everything else. So yeah, there's the story of that. So I turned the website into a blog. You can find show notes. You can find, sometimes I put my notes for patterns that I'm doing, for projects that I'm doing will go up there. It's not every week, every show, every live, everything I do doesn't always get on there, but I try to post as often as I can. When we're doing like a make along, we did the you saw it behind me, excuse me, my crochet piece behind me. My daughter and I did that make along, and all of the notes for it are there. There are PDFs you can download, and all of my patterns are free. I have now made them all free, and both of my patterns, my hat pattern, my shawl pattern, there are, not only are there patterns from them, but there's tutorials here on my channel too. So I didn't start out to make this like a advertising kind of thing. That's not what I intended to do. I just really wanted to tell some of the new people about myself and kind of what I do. So I need to swing this blanket around now. And I got to get off this leg. Oof. What you doing, Serbs? Scratching, evidently. I only have about 4 inches left to go on this. I actually put in a progress keeper here so that you guys can see. Here's my progress keeper. And when I put that in there, I asked Mr. Fiber to hold it up to him, and he said it needs about another foot, because he didn't want it to just come to here and that's as far as it would go when he like put his legs under it and all of that kind of stuff. So I said, okay. So I marked it. That way I'd know when I had another foot on there, and then I'll be done. And it's about 4 more inches. Just kind of hard to believe the journey on this one. Oh. I think that was one of your hairs, Bubby. Okay, this year, you guys, I'm wondering, hold on. Okay, I said in the beginning I have something to say. So I'm going to go ahead and say that because I know y'all are like, oh, what's it going to be? This year I have made some decisions. I'm not making New Year's resolutions or any of that kind of jazz. What I am doing, though, is I'm just going to be honest as I can be. I'm going to be forthcoming with things. I don't want to overshare. I don't believe in oversharing. I don't think that's good. But you know what? I'm just not going to hold back anymore. And I need to just be me. And I've been on a little bit of a journey this last year to try to do that. I have chosen my word for this year. Last year, my word was, and it was like hyphenated word, soul feeding. And that was whatever I do or people I'm around, those kinds of things. So basically trying to get to a place that if it didn't feed my soul, I wasn't going to do it. So if I was working on a project and it just was not bringing me joy, it was not feeding my soul, something that I was like, inspired to do and loved doing and got something out of it, I frogged it. I gave it away. I gave the yarn away. Whatever I needed to do to cleanse myself of that. That also happened with, I had some relationships that happened with as well. And I think relationships are a little bit different because they grow, they change, they don't, as you get to know each other, they change. And I feel like we get something from every relationship, whether it's a learning experience, whether it's laughs, having a good time, talking, just wasting away some time that you're like, just hanging out with somebody. There's a lot of different things that happen with relationships. I am not going to apologize for relationships, interactions, things like that, because they are what they are, and they evolve and they change and they become what they are, and they are either good for you or they're not good for you, but you learn from all of them. So no apologies for that. No apologies for things I'm going to say on my channel. I am happy that you guys are here, that you are wanting to spend time with me, but I am just me. I'm just me. And I think that most of my viewers appreciate that. So this year, I chose the word purposeful. Okay, I had a phone call. So this year, my word is going to be purposeful. I had words before. I had one that was balance. And I think that was the one before, was year before. I don't know that I really did very well with that one. I believe was pretty successful with my soul feeding last year. I really do. I feel like I was. This year, purposeful, I have already started to adopt that word. And I have been going through things and decluttering. Mr. Fiber and I have been talking about this. When his mother passed away, we inherited a lot of things from his mother. A lot of kitchen stuff, which I was very happy to have. And I inherited just about all of her crafting supplies, which again, I was happy to have. We acquired some furniture. We acquired a lot of things when his mother passed away. Quilts, just so much stuff. But the problem is, you also get a lot of other stuff. And it takes a while if you're not, I think it's just, you just don't know when it first happens. You just don't really know what you're going to want. You know, you think you do, and you save what you can, and then you go from there. We were fortunate enough to have a place in town that we could store some things. And we've been going through it, and we always say, well, I wonder if there's one of those in town, because we'd need something, and we'd say, I wonder if we have it there, which is like most people probably say, well, I wonder if I have one in storage, right? That's really what we were doing. So we've been going through, him and I, and we've decided that most of the things that we have left there in storage, we don't need it. We're not using it. So we've been throwing things away, donating things. And I'm going to be doing that once a month, at least, where I go to that house and I pack up things that I can donate that would be useful to someone else. And I'm going to take it off to the thrift store, and other things, we just throw it away. So that's part of this journey this year of purposeful. It also pertains to what I'm doing. Is what I'm doing purposeful? I'd like to bring purpose to, and when I looked at the synonyms for purposeful, intention is a synonym. So is it something that I'm intending to do? I'd like to be more purposeful about that. My intentions. Now, intentions don't always mean you follow through. So intent, you know, it's a fine line there between intent. That's why I like the word purposeful better, because it brings a little more meaning to something when I say I meant to do that. It was on purpose, right? That just seems to have more weight to it than an intention. I hope I'm making sense with this. This word will evolve as I use it through my year. And my word from last year did. The soul feeding did. It incorporated more parts of my life than just my projects and, you know. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Okay, so a wrap up. I'd like to do like a little wrap up of last year, but you know what? It's really a strange thing for me with wrap ups, because I already lived it. I don't always want to just go through and rehash it again. I already did that. I'm moving forward, you know? So I know a lot of people like the wrap-ups. I do have a video where I showed you the projects I made. I managed to do just over one project per week, and I think that's fantastic. It's fantastic. Love it. And I'm going to do a video where I show you the whips that I have, what I'm keeping, what I'm going to finish. And that'll be a separate video. We won't do that today. I had a great year in 2022. I traveled a lot at the end of the year. Not going to rehash that again. I don't know what this year will be. My dad had a lot of surgeries and things that happened this year, and I feel like this might be a quieter year for him. He and I talked about possibly him moving here. I don't know whether he will or he won't. It is something we've talked about, and that's as much as I can say about that. I feel like he's going to have a year that is not as hard on him physically, and I'm hoping that's the case, but you never know. You never know. So my having something to say was my word, and that I'm not going to apologize or for just being me. Not doing it. I'm thankful. I always tell you guys I'm thankful. I'm really glad you're here. I love spending time with you. I know a lot of people say they like these where you just sit down and talk. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to sit down and talk. I have a project coming up in February, which I think you guys are going to love. And I will give you a hint. If you want to join in, you are going to be, I will introduce it and let you have some time to think about it. But February is the month of love. And I'm going to do something based on watching Llama Mama Kayla. And that's all I'm going to say. So I will let you guys know, but that will be in February. I'm looking forward to that. I wanted to tell you guys what happened on my way back from my dad's because I had not told you this yet. So there's a couple things that I don't know how it got away from me where I hadn't said anything, but I'm no longer going to drive at night. Let's just put it that way. I was coming back from Dad's and it was, what was it, a week before Christmas? 2 weeks before Christmas? 2 weeks before Christmas, I believe, because it was right after Thanksgiving. And I was about 40 minutes from home. And I had left one town and was halfway between that town and the next town. And the next town has no amenities, as they say when you're traveling. No amenities. No gas station. No place to really stop. It's lit because there's a school, but there's no place to really stop and do things. And I was halfway. And a hog. It was almost like, I was telling Mr. Fiber and Chelsea and Carrie and them when I told the story, but it was like when you if you've ever seen a picture on a trail cam where there's light, it's like gray out, you know, you can tell it's nighttime, and then there's like a light and you see an animal come across and you get a picture in the trail cam of that animal. And that's what I remember seeing. And this hog came across the road and it hit me. Scary. God, that was scary. Now, my dad taught me how to ride a motorcycle. And in that, he would not let me ride the motorcycle until I could put it down and pick it up, walk with it, all of those things. He taught me how to work on it, all of those things. And he taught me something called counter steering, because that's very important on a motorcycle. You have to counter steer to get around something or to avoid something. Oh my God, I got a scratch. So he taught me how to do that. And I got an itch. Oh, okay. That's better. Always have one of these next to you, you guys. I have one all over the place. For the first time that I can remember in a very long time, I counter steered. And all I knew is I had hit it. And then I was like, okay, I was still on the road, didn't go off the road, was still driving, the car was still running, so I just kept going for a little bit, and I thought, you know, I think everything's okay. I was thinking tire. I was thinking, I wonder if I have a tire going. I wonder if I'm just gonna keep going for a little bit and see. And I got to a point where there was, on one side of the road, there was like a power station of some sort, like a battery or power for something, and a light, and like almost like a street lamp. So I pulled over on the other side of the road from that, where I would have some light and I would be lit up. Pulled off the side of the road, got out of the car, and I had my phone in my hand. I forgot I had a flashlight in the car. Had my phone in my hand, and I've turned my light on from the phone, and I'm going around the car, and another car pulls up, and she rolls down her window, and it's a young girl, and she says, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just checking my car." And she says, "Well, I saw the hog in the road." And I said, "Oh." And she said, "But I wanted to make sure you were okay. You hit it, right?" And I said, "Yes." So I walked around the car, and she goes, "Well, as long as you're okay." And I said, "I'm fine." So she went on. And the car looked fine to me, just from looking at it. Tires were fine. I got back in the car, and I knew I was going to have to do something, but I thought, well, I couldn't remember how far I was. I knew I wasn't very far from home, but I knew it wasn't like 5 minutes down the road either. So I thought, well, maybe everything will be okay. It'll be fine. I have a fan down there. I'm going to turn it off. And I looked back there, and I had Cerberus with me. He had like a 2 by 2 foot spot left, because all of the stuff that I had packed in the car behind Cerberus had all fallen forward. He actually got thrown up against the chairs, and all this stuff came back at him, and then it all leveled back out again. So then when I got to that next little town where it was all lit up, and I pulled over in front of the school where all the lights were, and I kind of shifted everything back so he could be, but he sat in that 2x2 space just looking out until we got back to the house. He didn't have enough room to lay down, and everything was too heavy for me to move all of it back into place again. I got home, I told, and it was dark, obviously. And I told Mr. Fiber, I said, I hit a hog. He said, oh. I said, yeah. I said, I think everything's okay, but I don't know. He says, well, I'll look at it in the morning. What's important is that you're all right. Serbs is all right. We made it home. We'll just look at it in the morning. So I went out in the morning, and he said, I can tell what happened. He says, I'm going to drive it, and then I'll let you know if there's any issue. So he took the car out, and he drove it around. He said, drives fine. He said, it feels a little like it might have a little more play in the suspension, not suspension, but the alignment, like it might have got a little out of whack. But he said it's not bad. I can't really tell because, you know, he doesn't drive it every single day. He drives it a lot, but not every day. So he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure if that was still already there, or if it's new. He said it hit me. I did not hit it because I countersteered. It hit me at the front on my front wheel. It spun around, and it took a piece off on the rear door at the bottom, and it knocked a piece off. It's gone. But it's not anything that, it's just like finishes out the door and everything. It's not like air gets in there or it's a problem. And then on the back side, there was pig poop all over, hog poop all over the back of the car. So obviously he spun around and then hit the backside. Very, very lucky, you guys. I feel very, very lucky. And I feel like I dodged a literal bullet. And I will not be driving anymore at night. Done. It would have to be an emergency for me to do it anymore. My trips will all be planned to where if it starts to get dark before I get home, I'm going to stop. I will get a room, and I will finish the next day. And that's that. So I did not tell you guys about that. I forgot. So I wanted to be sure and tell you. Anyway. Okay, you guys, I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want to make it too long, but I hope you enjoyed spending time with me knitting. I will be showing you this blanket soon because I'm so close to finishing. Let me know what you're working on. Come join me Friday for crime. Thursday night, we're going to talk about food. That's probably going to be every other Thursday now, you guys. Don't look for it every Thursday. Just it's coming, but it's going to be every other Thursday. And check out my other channel, Shiny She Shed. I'm going to be doing some diamond painting over there and some other crafts and things. I love y'all. Have a great day. Have fun today. And eat more vegetables. They're good for you. Love y'all. Bye.